25 years ago today.
When you think about the last 25 years, what comes to your mind first?
I can't believe it's been 25 years. You know, I say that, and you know, there's definitely times when it seems longer.
January 27th, 2001, when an airplane carrying 10 members of the Oklahoma State basketball program crashed in a field in Colorado, including Jared Weiberg, the brother of Oklahoma State athletic director Chad Weiberg. What's that day like for you when the anniversary comes up every year?
It's mixed emotions. You know, it brings up a lot of the bad memories, obviously. But you know, you always are just so grateful that, you know, that people are remembering, right, and honoring those guys.
Jared Weiberg was a student assistant for Oklahoma State basketball, who started his career as a walk-on for the Cowboys and dreamed of being a coach one day. He was only 22 years old in 2001.
I still have people, you know, come up to me that's like, hey, you know, you don't know me, you have no reason why, you know, but I was in class with your brother, you know, kind of thing, and, you know, will tell me some, you know, story about him or whatever, and I appreciate all of those, you know. I mean, it just tells you that, you know, because I think one of the things that you always, you know, you just don't want to feel like you're the only one that remembers.
Your brother was OSU through and through. What do you imagine he would say about the place that he spent a lot of time and loved?
I think he would be really, really proud of it. I mean, you know, I think a lot about what he would be doing. He wanted to be a coach. I think he was on his way to doing that. So, you know, would he be coaching here? Would he be coaching somewhere that's playing against us, or, you know, whatever? But he was he was driven, and you know, a goal setter and all of those things. And so I think he just, he was a good guy. And in 2021, when Chad Weiberg was announced as the athletic director for the Cowboys.
How I wish he could be with us today and could hear what he would be saying.
He says Jared would have been absolutely thrilled. What do you imagine he would think about you being in charge of OSU athletics?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure he'd probably have lots of thoughts about that, and I'm sure he would share all of his thoughts with me about what I need to be doing different or better. And I honestly could probably use those and would definitely take them. But no, I think he would be really proud. My biggest cheerleader, so to speak.
And now 25 years later, the kneeling cowboy is a reminder inside Gallagher-Iba Arena of a promise made 25 years ago.
We will remember.
To remember the 10 forever. Do you stop by the memorial?
I walk by the memorial all the time.
Yeah?
Yep, all the time.
Do you stop and pay attention?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
Yep, I do. And, you know, you know, a lot of times when I'm walking through there, there'll be other people that are there and looking at it, and that's always meaningful, you know, to me, just to know that other people, I don't always know who they are, but, you know, taking the time to stop and, you know, read and, you know, remember whatever it is that they're doing there. But it's a great memorial. I think OSU did a really good job with that. And the Kneeling Cowboy, it was a meaningful place.
I asked Chad Weiberg what he told his kids about their Uncle Jared, and he told me that they talk about him a lot, and he feels like that they know him. Chad has 2 children, a daughter Ella and a son Grant, named after his brother, Jared Grant Weiberg.